Greetings and salutations, you beautiful people. This is Crimson King here with the Keep It Brief, brought to you by Echoes of New Eden, Eve Echoes podcast. Let's see. So, if you were paying close attention to the introductory slide there, you might have noticed all of those secret trafficking containers of various numbers. I did it. I got over 1,000. With the war coming, with the kickoff of war last week and Silent Federation and like all the drama, all the things that have happened over the last 4 days, add that cherry on top, baby. I've got 1,000 trafficking containers. I can't even talk. I'm so excited. I'm gonna hopefully record the video for that either later on tonight or tomorrow, and I'll either post it on the next Keep It Brief, or I don't know, I might not be able to contain myself if I get like enough goods. There have been a few unboxing videos recently, and I'm kind of stoked on that. But you really gotta like go for mass with odds like that. And for the last year or so, collecting those boxes, gathering them up while exploring, buying them as low as I can, like as cheaply as I can, because they're selling on the market right now at about 2.5, 3 mil, and most of the ones that I got, I paid 1.5 or less. So I'm really stoked on that. Like, even if I get the expected value, which it's supposed to, I ran the numbers about a year ago, and I don't know if it's still the same if they changed the odds, but it's supposed to be an expected value of 3 gravitational wave graphs, and those are rocking around 300 million and change each. So if I get the expected value out of those secret trafficking containers, like I should break about even, or maybe slightly better. But if I get lucky and get like a fourth or a fifth grav wave graph, I'm gonna be to the moon, baby. I'm gonna be so excited. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's actually get to the content, the meat of this episode. I've got a good set of sections here, and I'm actually going to turn this one mechanics corner into a routine thing. Hopefully, there's a mechanic reached out to me, and he wants to contribute, and I want to use his contributions and kind of play back and forth with him and you, dear listener. So topics for today. I'm going to go over the usual CFO report with a few changes for the war. Talking about the naming of ships and how you can name your ships to get better attached to the things so it hurts more when you lose them. Ha! And then the Mechanics Corner Challenge. This is going to be the first challenge, and I've got another one slated for next week. But I'm going to want your feedback on the different challenges available there. And then Industrial Grade, talking about seeding markets, is the thinky type thing for the end of this episode. And then, of course, the playlist. So let's talk about the CFO report. At present, my wallet is a piddly 2 million. I know it says 21 million there, but it's at 2 million. I ended up clearing out some assets. I got fed up. Basically bought at about 2 mil, I want to say. It was either 2 mil or 2.1 mil for the last 30 or so secret trafficking containers. And so it spiked and then dipped right back down. I'm hiding the information regarding the corporation wallet, the expenses and the assets in play, assets and investment, everything due to the war. I want to make sure it's clear that we've hidden our assets away in NPC stations, so Tuna doesn't really have much to lose other than our pride. And I don't know if you guys like realize this, but I'm not a very proud person, and I don't mind losing ships. I don't mind bringing subpar fits to the fight, right? I'm here for the party. I'm not here to fly the fanciest or to risk the fanciest, right? That's for high stakes tables. I'm more the blackjack at the local retirement casino kind of guy. Like I'm more chill than that. And Team Tuna seems to be, with the exception of a few straight up killers that we've got on our team, in a similar vein. As usual, the fine print's there. I'm going to include a link to the slides in the doobly-doo if you want to read it. There's nothing really there to talk about, just a few names and people to reach out to if you want to make some money in-game. So we can safely move on to pulling back the kimono 1 week at a time. This is where I talk about my general goals. And as you can see, I've hit my personal goal. I finally got over 1,000 trafficking containers, and of course I found another another exploration. I was actually going to pick them up while I was scanning the whole way, and I found another 4 en route to Jita. So I've got 1,004 trafficking containers staged in Harul, ready to rock. And oh man, I'm so excited. Um, Corporation goals, managing new members. So what with the war, spies are a thing, but we still want to like promote new players. We want people to come in and have like a safe place to experiment, to try new things, and to learn the ropes. Basically, understand everything that I talk about in Tuna School. And to that end, one of the dudes in Tuna has started up a branch, a secondary corporation called Tough, short for Tuna Fry. And that's where we're going to put new players until like we're certain that they're going to hang around for a bit. They get pretty much everything else that like normal Team Tuna members have access to, but they're going to be a little bit more closely vetted and analyzed, I suppose, before going on high stakes missions. So we're going to give them some lower tier missions, and we're going to join them on there. It's basically another excuse for me to bring out the Tall War Sniper, the Rifter, all the fun little things that I absolutely love flying, but with a crew of newbies, hopefully. We'll see how that shakes out. I'm going to have a link to the Discord, not in this week's episode, but in next week's episode. So the folks who are willing to, do some hunting, actually go into the Tuna Discord and ask around, get first shake at it. But hopefully we'll open those doors and get some fresh blood into the game. Because what with this giant war, wars are really good for bringing people back. But after the war, there tends to be a lull. Like the folks who lose big or who win big and want to rest on their laurels. I think this is the best thing that's happened to the game in over a year, at least. Like since exploration was introduced, I would say. This war. So good on you, Silent. Good on you, everybody who's stuck in the fight. Honk, no, I'm a little bit disappointed, but also I know you guys can kill, and it's a strategic decision. I have no right to question it or judge y'all backing out. But it's turning out to be like a political slobber knocker on top of just an obscene amount of damage. Oh man, like the numbers that I'm seeing coming in are impressive, and hopefully by this time next week I'll have run the math on that and can make the old here's the news brief slide. We lost several $1 million worth of ships in about a week or something absurd like that, not including citadels and all those stats, because like that's the kind of stuff that makes the news, not just the random dude who uses NeuroLove and to create art assets and just rambles for about a half hour about random topics on a slideshow. Like that's the big deal. That's the real deal. I've also determined that I've got 3 kind of catchphrases that have been stuck with me for the last few months. Just keep swimming is obviously Tuna's favorite catchphrase. We have survived some horrible things. And just keep coming. We just keep swimming. And I think if your win condition for the game is to play the game, then doesn't matter how much you win or lose, you are winning as far as that's concerned. Bradrick has this habit of signing off on his messages with "be aggressive," and I cannot emphasize that enough. That is the right attitude, right? Like if your definition of fun is to go and get them, then you determine what's fun. Nobody else has any say. They can hide, and you can, knock on their shields or go chase other targets. But that idea of taking action, being responsible for your own happiness, like be aggressive, man. Like that's the good. And then one more little touch. This one's straight from me. Just keep swimming. Was from I want to say Yeti back in the day, but I'm probably wrong there. And then of course Bradrick. But go where you were forbidden. Is the third catchphrase. And I've signed a few of like my thinkier messages with that. I think there's an element of this game that folks, I don't know, maybe they're aware of it, but it's an approach that I just enjoy. Being able to go wherever you want on the map and have nobody stop you, basically, in a Rifter or whatever your ship is. And of course you'll get stopped every now and then, but it's the attempt that is important. Like go beyond the boundaries of where you are expected to be and have fun exploring. Like there's so much content in this silly little phone game. It's basically a war game set to live action combat, like a live action combat war game where you control the strategic decisions and the operational goals. And yeah, I'm rambling. I don't have a future goal outside of jumping in on this war at some point on some side. I'm not really sure where Team Tuna's leadership is lying there, like what the expectations are, but I do know a few of our members have already like thrown their hats into the ring and are participating. And I'm excited to see how things shake out moving forward. So there's that. On to naming your ships. So within the fitting screen, under fitting management, if you touch that button right there, you can save your fittings and like pull them back up later. So save is to save whatever fitting you have on your ship. I've got a towel wear up here just as an example, because it's fun to experiment with different fits on this one. But you save them, you can share them, but you pull them up, you get the opportunity to name them. So whatever those fits are. And this isn't a Tall War class destroyer anymore. No, not a Tall War sniper. It is an Artemis class Tall War, or an Apollo class, or a Jackal, or a Coyote, or Pumpkin. Like whatever you want to name your ship, you can name it. Other people can't see it unless you share the fit. But if you're doing good, folks are going to ask you to share your fit anyway. So that's a nice little creative touch and something that'll bring your ship closer to your heart. You can also name using different organizational techniques. I like to aim a little bit more towards mythology and like, Coyote, the trickster god, Artemis, goddess of the moon, Apollo, god of the sun, and music, and like all sorts of other cool stuff. That's my angle, but I want you to use these features in a way that fits you. So let's say you have a close fit or a range fit, brawl, tanky, however you want to name them, like name it in a way that works for you. For me, it's a creative outlet, but that's just it. And then also, like, if you want to call out doctrine fits, for example, and spread them around your corporations, this should open up the way to getting a lot more butts and seats, I suppose, or commanders and capsules with fits that fit. It's especially important that you have fits for doctrines along the entirety of the tier structure, especially if you want to get new players working their way up through the ranks. But it's not essential. I mean, the giant alliances that exist at present are mostly grognards, folks who've been around for a while. But I want new players. I want more people to like stumble upon this game and explore it in new and interesting ways. Then another way to like personalize your ships to nanocores is the obvious. You can't really name the nanocores, but you can name the colors or the arrangements that you have for them. This particular Tall War isn't sporting one of the Green Breeze 2s, but most of my fleet has Breeze 2s, with the exception of, I want to say, it's not neon gas. I know I've got a purple on one of these buggers. I just can never remember what kind it is. It might be an Ascension. It might be like, I can never remember. But make the colors something that you will enjoy, because you're probably going to be the only one seeing your ship, unless it's a battleship, and even then you'll probably only get witnessed before falling before a Morton Joe's giant semi truck getting blasted. It's an expression of personality or a way to look at fits at a glance is another way to approach it. So for the most part, I use green, neon greens, bright neon greens for range. For stealthier fits, I'll usually lean more in the blues. The Fisher King, for example, has like a blue sheen that looks like scales. It's a hurricane. Like, there are ways to organize your ships in such a way that you don't have to necessarily look at view contents whenever you stumble across. Though that does help. I mean, that'll let you know what fits, you have straight up. But if you're looking to just jump into a ship and go somewhere, it's nice to have that shorthand. I jumped into the wrong ship. This one's kind of a last check. And then striking the colors. So to strike the colors actually means to surrender. It's bringing down the flag on a ship that's been boarded or conquered. But here, it's a way for you to, at least it's referencing, The idea of corporation colors, matching your team, your homies, kind of like sports teams, you know? It's just another way to lean into personalization of ships. And that's just a little, snack of a topic. Onward to Mechanics Corner. This is the meat and potatoes of this episode. This is the good stuff. So this dude reached out to me on Discord via Tuna, and he basically offered his services to create doctrines, to theory craft, which I am all about. I love that. That is brilliant, and I'm so grateful he did. So I challenged him with an initial look at creating a 100 million ISK limit duo fit. So 2 ships, 100 million, should be straightforward, right? And he impressed me. He came up with a couple of really good designs, and I chucked a couple more onto the slide just so it's not, all him, and I can talk to each of these. Cloak and Dagger, the idea there is to use a covert ops cruiser as sort of the front line tackle. And then the E-War frigate to add additional tackle, serve as both a distraction, but also like get a new player into the fight, right? Because anybody can use a T4 if they've gone through the tutorial. But it's a way for them to like experience combat while not being necessarily vulnerable to combat. And if they are vulnerable, if they do get blapped, like it's cheap. Whoever's flying the covert ops cruiser, assuming they don't lose it in that fight, can replace the T4 E-War nice and quick. So that was a strong open. I was impressed with that. I came up with the names. He just gave me the fits, the talk. He actually impressed me too. The Can-U prototype and the Shan-Yu prototype, they're kind of like trainers. They have a reduced IP cost on the return. So for the capabilities you get and the abilities that they can perform, right? They're ISK, or at least IP effective. Maybe not ISK effective, because I don't know how expensive decomposers are at the moment. But the main attraction, or at least the value that the mechanics saw in the Can-U was the idea of newts using I've got the fit on the next slide here. And so I'll zoom in a little bit more on that here in a sec. But I also wanted to talk about kind of your standard issue expectation, the Twisted Sisters. You got a thick cruiser and a thin cruiser. And he was a little confused about what I meant by that when I was talking to him about it. But by thick cruiser, I mean like a beefy tank, your front line, brawl, tackle, the cruiser that you want in their face, and tanking the blows. With the thin cruiser being either hanging out on the back, zooming in to like distract, that kind of performance. The usuals for most PvPers that I've seen out there, a thin cruiser type would be the Stabber, or Stabber fleet issue. That, I mean, it gets a lot of mileage out of those. But for the thick cruiser, Ruptures are 30 mil right now. They are dirt cheap. You can fit out a Rupture for well under, I would say, well, hold on a sec. That was before the war. That was as of Thursday. I don't know how expensive Ruptures are at the moment. And I know that Rupture trainers are too expensive for anybody not looking to lose that same trainer multiple times. And I'll talk about like the difference between the two on this Friday's Tuna School, I believe. The main difference is you get more stats for less ISK, but it costs you more IP over the long run. So you're paying more up front for the Rupture trainer, but saving ISK in the long haul, especially if it's something you intend to yeet into the void on the regular. Long story short is a regular tanky cruiser mixed with a high-speed, fast, thin cruiser, and then just going and backing each other up. That's the idea behind this, and the name's taken from the Loch Lamora series. Awesome books, by the way. And then a mid-range. Mid-range, I mainly threw this on there to give the Tall War Assault a little bit of attention. A Tall War Assault mixed with a Stabber of some variety, and you've got a pretty easy and cheap fleet ready to rock. Especially if your assault can get in close, and the Stabber can apply the DPS. You'd be surprised at what kind of targets they can take down. But yeah, what are your ideas? Like, you get 100 million ISK to burn, and 2 pilots looking to go and kill as many things as possible. What would you give them with that budget And these operational goals, what kind of doctrines would you put out there? Go ahead and comment them down below or message me, and I'll talk about the cool ones in the future. Here's that fit that I was talking about for the KIB5. Note the types of weapons that he's got. These are greens, and there's a good reason for that. Greens before the war were extremely cost effective. They were dirt cheap. Fleet issue is the main indicator for most of them. Blues are the more expensive. But the goal is to fit on the cheap while still being combat effective. And his notes here, I believe it's all about the newts with the KIB5. Killing your opponent's capacitor and then just tearing them apart with the deconstructor is the operational goal there. Apparently had some good success. I didn't ask for any kill mails, but if you want, I can dig a little deeper and see about the performance in the future. But yeah, new section, one that I'm absolutely stoked on. Hopefully y'all are as well. Moving on to industrial grade seeding markets. So what do I mean by seeding markets? It's common knowledge in Eve Echoes that JITA is kind of the only place to get your goods. This is mainly because folks don't mind driving about half hour to the store to pick up their stuff and then bring it on back home. But that was life before wartime. Things are tenser. There are gate camps well, depending on where you go, there are gate camps and fleets roaming around. I've noticed actually a downturn in small scale piracy and a lot more big things moving around. And it's sometimes it's tough to stay out of their way, but the main thing, and this mainly applies to life after wartime, is getting people to pay a convenience fee for shopping local. So let's say you are at one of the nullsec ITCs. You can post things for sale at cost and potentially lose ISK. Or you can post things for sale above JITA prices, and folks who are too lazy to try and brave the gate camp, and this is especially true for things that won't fit in a cargo scepter, which, by the way, if you've been watching the kill mail bots, cargo scepters are no longer safe. Instalocks are out there, so it's a dangerous time to be a smuggler. But to avoid that, posting things locally for higher than JITA prices, you'll occasionally get bites. And the stuff that, doesn't sell, you can either save for wartime, because folks who, this is a Federation Navy small afterburner, they're selling around 21 million at the moment. Those used to sell for about 300,000. Like, on a good day. They dipped up to around 2 mil on the lead-in for the war, and there were signs and things along those lines. But if you stocked up on these, either from ratting or from buying them on the market and stockpiling and investing over time, you just got a fatty paycheck, right? 20 times return? That's beefy. That's rad. You can get maybe 10%, 30% markup on a nullsec ITC for most things. But in wartime, prices are all over the place. There's never been a better time to profiteer. But yeah, once you post your stuff, if it doesn't go, it's not working for you, sell it in in low sec. Move it from null sec to low sec, right? Get a steady stream of assets towards where they will sell, so that you can attain profits over the long run. This is the life of a merchant, is if it doesn't sell here, maybe it'll sell there. And the reason why a lot of the nullsec ITCs are empty is because of insular markets. Everybody uses their corporation market. They don't want to help anybody outside their corporation, which with the markups, depending on what you need, maybe you need the ISK more than you need those resources, especially if you didn't pay anything for them in the first place, right? It's all about what your strategic goals are, what your operational intent is, and how you can kind of leverage different tactics to achieve each of those things, right? Another common thing that I see, especially out near Serpentis Prime, Bradrick, I'm looking at you. You'll see minerals posted for below market prices, dirt cheap minerals too. And then you'll also see minerals posted at market prices. This is what's known as a loss leader. You'll have a nibble. The first one's free, right? Ha. You'll have basically a product posted for less than what people would expect to pay. And they'll either not thinking buy it because it'll be top of the list, and then they'll have to go all the way there and all the way back, which good for pirates. Not so good for them, or they'll just sit on it for a while. Either way, you've given some incentive for them to go to that ITC and maybe clean out the rest of the stock, especially if they have, extra cargo hold space to buy the rest of the goods. And it's not like they're missing out, right? They're paying at market prices while out there, or less than market prices too, if they're cleaning out the rest of your loss leader. It's a way to bait the hook, if you will. And that's just two tactics right there for seeding markets. If you want to make a profit, if I were to open a lemonade stand, would I go to like a lemon grove full of lemonade stands? No, I want to go where the people are thirsty. I want to go where the competition isn't. I want to go where people say I shouldn't. So it's unexpected. Like open a lemonade stand just before the desert, so folks will stop off and grab a refresher before going into the long dry. That's what nullsec ITCs are. They are lemonade stands in the desert. Most corporations, especially if they're local to those ITCs, can fund and fend for themselves. They can gather up all the afterburners that they want and things like that. It's the whales, the ISK whales. Just to be clear, the folks who have a large amount of liquid ISK available to post these price hikes that are really like the captains of industry. If you want to take advantage of this massive price spike, post some stuff with those nullsec ITCs at similar prices. 20 million for a small afterburner is absurd. Make those folks who are spiking the prices work for their ISK. Anyway, that's what it comes down to. Like everything in this game, every aspect of EVE online or EVE Echoes, especially EVE Echoes because that's what I'm familiar with, but every aspect of EVE is PvP. Even PvE, you are chasing ISK over the long haul. And every step that you take on that journey like puts you either a little bit farther ahead or keeps you behind the folks who are making ISK faster. But there are different ways to compete, different arenas within which you can make successful businesses. And that's just my thoughts on industrial grade stuff. And I think with that, we're coming up to the close. Yeah, this is the close. So, Dark Designs, one of his posters, and I'm posting this because Ashived posted a bounty recently, and it was schmaltzy, a little bit cheese, but still he gets a B plus in my opinion for the fiction. I'm a fan of that, and I'm a fan of his content. Period. Like Ashived is just a good all around dude, and especially his focus on the market. He's an inspiration. But keep an eye out for Dark Designs. He will make posters of this quality or otherwise, or better, or worse, of this quality. For I think 300 million ISK, which that's kind of a steal. I don't know where you're putting your money in relation to the war, but that's how Dark Designs makes his. I've got a link in the doobly-doo, I believe. We'll see. Playlist for this week. I got this by Tom Budin and Ming. That song has a special significance for me and someone I love. And it's like a motivational, like get you pumped kind of thing. Phantasm by Jack the Stripper. She doesn't know it yet, but we were married once in an alternate dimension and long and happy life together. It's a great song. That's probably my go-to jam for when I want to feel like, all right, stuff's rough right now, but let's turn it around. Dog Problems by The Format is a little bit slower, but also a lot more witty. It's got some good plays on words, and The Format is just one of my favorite bands of all time. Brutus by The Buttress. Now, that one's dark and heavy, and like, oh man, it's thick. It hits hard. It's almost like spoken word poetry, which I don't know if y'all are into that kind of thing, but like almost B. Dolan-ish, but a female lead. Like, it's giving me The Failure vibes, but more Shakespeare. It's a good song. It's strong. I got that boom by the Pom Poms. That's just a general poppy, get pumped kind of thing. Also a bit of a surprise. I hear a symphony by Cody Fry. That one always tears me up. It's so well done because it creates a story that could only be told within the medium. Basically, I'll let you listen to it yourself. It's really good though. And Aries by Winter's Island, I think, would be the song to top off this year. I'm gonna make the next few playlists for December like focused on the year in review kind of thing, and these for the most part fit that bill. But I'm gonna lean into it and be a little bit more selective and maybe theme the next few playlists. We'll see if they have like a special name up there. You'll know I've committed. Last thing, one more thing before you go. I'm looking for playtesters. Me and my buddy Chaos Mech made a card game. We've got a digital version on Tabletop Simulator. He's really pushing to get art on those cards, and I am really lazy. So I was mainly pushing towards getting the physical copies so we can go to like game stores and stuff and playtest them there. But there's nothing like having other people playtesting the game blind. I want to get these card games into people's hands and see if like it's fun or not. It's basically blackjack as a roguelike, and yeah, I really enjoy it. And I think that's everything. This has been the Keep It Brief, and hopefully I managed to keep it brief.